Today we're going to be classifying triangles. And we're going to classify triangles by different attributes. So we can classify them by angle, when we look at the angles that they have inside of them and what kind of angle it is, or by sides, when we look at the measurement of each of its sides. So those are the two different attributes we're going to be focusing on for triangles today. On page 915, we see that this family traveled from Columbus, Ohio. They went down to Dallas, Texas, then to Atlanta, and back to Columbus. So they made a triangle in their travels. And we know they are showing us the measurements of each of the legs of their travel, right? So the first one was 924 miles from Columbus to Dallas. Then from Dallas to Atlanta, it was 729 miles. And from Atlanta to Columbus, it was 873 miles. So when we look at the sides, we know that we have 924, we have 573, and 729, right? And so when we see that, we realize that none of these sides, so these are all miles, none of them are congruent because none of them are the same. So if a triangle has no congruent sides, it's called a scalene triangle. Now on example number 2, we're going to be looking at this pyramid triangle, one of the pyramids in Egypt, and we're going to see how many angles of these are acute. Well, we know that we have one acute angle, that's less than 90 degrees, 2, and 3. So we have 3 acute angles. And now how many of them are obtuse? Well, none. And how many of them are right angles? None. So we have a triangle that has 3 acute angles. So we're going to call this kind of triangle an acute triangle. And again, right here, the attribute we're focusing on is the measurement of the angles, not the measurements of the sides. So this would be an acute triangle. It's super important that you guys really focus on what they're going to be asking you to do. So like for example, on the guided practice, number 1 is asking you to classify it based on the sides. So we're going to look at the measurements, and we have 4 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. So we know that by side, we have isosceles, equilateral, and scalene. And we know that isosceles means that they have 2 sides that are congruent. Equilateral is all 3 sides are congruent. And scalene is 0 sides are congruent. So this one has 2 sides that are congruent. So this is going to be an isosceles triangle. And I forgot a little s right there. Now, if you're going to need your ruler, actually, no, you're going to look at the angles of this triangle. And by angle, we're going to see the kind of angle that it has. So we're going to see if it has acute angles, obtuse angles, or right angle. And remember, to be labeled as a right triangle, it needs to have 1 right angle. To be labeled as an obtuse triangle, it needs to have 1 obtuse angle right there. And to be labeled as an acute, that means that all 3 of their measurements are acute. So this would be more like an obtuse, and there would be a right angle. And if we look at this, all 3 of these little angles right here appear to be less than 90 degrees. So this is going to be an acute triangle. Okay, so like right here, if we're going to be labeling these triangles by their angle, we're going to be saying if a triangle is an acute triangle, a right triangle, or an obtuse triangle. So we're going to look at the angles in this one, and this angle, and that angle, and this angle. If you think about it, this angle right here makes a right angle. So that means this would be a right triangle because it has a 90-degree angle. These ones right here well, that's definitely an acute. That's acute, but this one right here is obtuse. So the fact that it has one obtuse, it is called an obtuse triangle. On this one, there's two acute ones, but this one right here is also a right triangle. So this is going to be a right triangle. Again, here we have a 90 degree. So, and these are small, that's called right triangle. And right here, that's an acute angle, and acute angle. So this is acute triangle. On this other side, we're going to be classifying them by their sides, so the measurement of their sides. And you're going to need, so for these ones, you're going to need your protractors in your book to measure the angle so that you can really label the triangles accordingly. And right here, you're going to need your ruler, and you're going to be taking the measurements of each of these items so that you can decide if they are, what kind of triangle they are. So I just measure all of my triangles, and now that I have their measurements, on this one right here, I can see that all three sides measure 2.5, so that makes it an equilateral. All right, so equilateral. Remember, equi means equal and lateral means sides. This one has 5 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and 3 centimeters. So that means it has two sides that are the same. This becomes an isosceles triangle. On this one, all three measurements are different, so that becomes scalene. And this one also, all three measurements are different, so it's a scalene triangle. Please go ahead and do your book pages 917 and 918, and please use your ruler for when you're measuring by side, and your protractor when you're measuring by angle. All right. Once you're done with your pages, please submit them through Seesaw. Make sure that you take one picture of each page so that I can actually review them and, see what your mistakes might be.